So, welcome back to the classification of phylum Annelida, and this is the second class under phylum Annelida. It is class Clitellata. The name has come because of the position of a structure which is known as a clitellum. And clitellum, it is meant to secrete an egg capsule or cocoon, and it appears as a thickened sleeve or saddle of few segments in length. Within the anterior one-third region of the annelid. Okay, this you may have come across in the case of earthworms. And during the periods of sexual maturity, this part, the clitellum, it swells up with thousands of glands that secrete proteinaceous material for building the cocoon. Okay, so clitellum, it is actually a few segments put together that form a thickened satellite part. Okay. Clitellata, all of them are hermaphrodites, that is male and female reproductive structures are present in the same organism, and both male and female gonopores exit from the clitellum, because as we have already mentioned, clitellum is the part where the reproductive structures are present, and the gonopores, the male and female gonopores, it exit from the clitellum. Okay, now the class Clitellata, it includes two subclasses, that is subclass Oligochaeta and subclass Hirudinea. The first one we will be discussing is the subclass Oligochaeta. The name has come from two Greek terms, that is oligos and chaetae. Sorry, it is hair. Okay, oligos means few and chaetae or the setae or the hairs or the bristles. That is what is referred. So compared to polychaetes, they do have very less number of setae. Okay. Now, they are mostly terrestrial forms. Some freshwater forms are seen as against the marine what you call polychaetes. Here most of them are most of them are terrestrial, and few freshwater forms can also be located. Body is with conspicuous external and internal segmentation, and distinct head, eyes, tentacles, they are totally lacking. Setae, they are few and embedded in the skin. Unlike the polychaete, the parapodia is absent, and the setae, it is embedded in the skin. Okay, and the setae are usually segmentally arranged. That is, every segment to have the setae, this definite number of setae embedded inside the skin. The clitellum, it is present because it is coming under Clitellata, and pharynx, it is not eversible. That is, unlike the protrusible pharynx in the case of polychaete, here it is not eversible. As being a Clitellata, they are hermaphrodites, and development is direct without any larval stages, and usually the development takes place within cocoons secreted by clitellum, and direct development, so no larval stages. Okay. So the example, there are plenty of examples coming under oligochaetes like tubifigs, Ferretima, Lumbricus, Megascolex. The example which we need to learn, it is a Megascolex, and this is one example, Megascolex concurrensis. The Megascolex is the earthworm which are commonly found in South India, and its two common species. It is one of them is concurrensis. The body of the earthworm, Megascolex, it bears almost from 80 to 100 or more segments. The dorsal surface is darker in color, while ventral surface pale in color. You can see here the large clitellum. Okay, even if it is not so clear over here, you can see it is very conspicuous. And usually the glandular swelling, that is a clitellum, it occupies like 14th to 17th segments, or it covers segments 14 to 17. Now, what are the different external apertures? One is obviously the mouth opening. This is the mouth opening. Okay, it is anterior in the anterior tip, and you can see here is prostomium. Overhanging prostomium. Okay, so an anterior terminal mouth which is overhanged by prostomium dorsally, fine. And then we have is the posterior most anal opening. Okay, and then there are dorsal pores along the mid dorsal line, one in each intersegmental groove behind the 10th segment. That is, as already mentioned, from 14 to 17, this part, it is actually the clitellum. The female gonopore, male gonopore, this part is actually the clitellum, okay, with a darker, thicker cuticle curve. Now, below, the segments behind 10th segment do have dorsal pores along the mid-dorsal line, okay. One in each intersegmental groove. What is intersegmental groove? Intersegmental groove means the groove between two segments. That is the intersegmental groove. Okay, and that actually demarcates the segments from each other. Then we have is the spermathecal openings on the ventral surface. One pair in each intersegmental groove between 6th and 7th, 7th and 8th, and 8th and 9th. That is just ahead of the 10th segment, between intersegmental grooves of the 6th and 7th, 7th and 8th, 8th and 9th segments, you can find the spermathecal openings. Then we have is the, you can see here, spermathecal apertures in the between the 6th and 7th, 7th and 8th, 8th and 9th. Okay, these three intersegmental grooves, you can find the spermathecal openings. It is on the ventral surface. Okay, then we have is the female, what you call genital pore, or two small openings on the ventral side of the segment 14. This is the 14th segment, and that is where the clitellum begins. Okay, from here clitellum begins till 17th segment. And the male genital openings, that pairs on the ventral side of the segment 18. Okay. Apart from that, on each segment you can find nephridiopores. They are very minute openings which are meant for the excretion. So these are the structures, or these are the openings which are associated with the body of the Megascolex. As already mentioned, it is a genus of earthworm which is found commonly in South India. And the example shown over here is Megascolex concanensis. This is the whole entire body. Okay, and this is the anterior part, with the clitellum, and the posterior part. The anterior terminal mouth, which is surrounded by prostomium, and then almost like a 14th to 17th segment, it forms hard clitellum. So this is about the Megascolex. Okay, so we saw Oligochaeta. That is the terrestrial forms, and coming under Clitellata with a very prominent clitellum, and hermaphrodite. These being hermaphrodite, the both female and male genital organs are present, and these two open out through the gonopores which are present in the clitellum, extending between the 14th and the 17th segment. So this is about the what you call Megascolex and the Oligochaeta. Okay. The next subclass under Clitellata is the subclass Hirudinea. Hirudinea, the term has come from the Latin word hirudo, which is referring to leeches. Okay, we can find they are freshwater forms. Even a few are marine, feeding upon fishes and other animals. Mostly ectoparasitic, that is, they are parasitic externally. And body is elongated, usually flattened dorsoventrally or cylindrical, subcylindrical actually. Body consists of a definite number of segments. This is like on an average around 30 to 40 segments maybe. Okay, but each segment is subdivided into annuli externally, and this is what we saw in the case of Arenicola, isn't it? That is, each segment is further divided. Only external division is there by means of annuli. Internally, it is not. Such kind of a division is not seen. Segmentation is there externally, internally, but each segment is subdivided into annuli externally. Okay. Then parapodia and setae are absent. They use by like muscular movement for moving about, contraction and relaxation. And the body, it is provided with an anterior and posterior suckers. Both are situated ventrally, and mouth opens on the ventral surface in the anterior sucker, while anus opens dorsal to the posterior sucker. Okay, so as already mentioned, the anterior and posterior suckers are there. Both suckers, they open ventrally. Okay, and The mouth opens on the ventral surface in the anterior sucker, while anus opens dorsal to the posterior sucker. Fine. And the individual, it is hermaphrodite, that is both the sexes are united and reproduction is sexual. So the same individual will be having a male and a female gonopore. Okay. The eggs usually they are laid in cocoons. Development is direct without any larval stages. So these are the few general features which are shown by the members of subclass Hirudinea. Okay. Now, there are plenty of examples, and which we are supposed to learn as Hirudinaria and Haemadipsa. We have Hirudo, another example. Hemopsis. We have so Polygodius. Sorry, what do you call Herpodella. All these are a few examples of Hirudinae. Okay. Now we will see in detail on Hirudinaria. Hirudinaria, the very common species found in India, it is Hirudinaria granulosa, and this is the one, Hirudinaria granulosa, and these are the labeled diagram. It occurs in freshwater ponds, lakes, tanks, swamps, and sluggish streams, where it either swims by vertical undulations. Undulations means just like how the flagella moves or cilia moves, that is the undulations. Okay, or it grips onto objects with the help of the suckers, the anterior and posterior suckers, and it moves by looping. So it attaches onto a surface with a sucker, and then the rest of the body is free, and they loop and then attaches the other sucker, frees off the first one, and then so that is how it moves. Okay, looping, like somewhat like this kind of a movement, as you may have studied how Hydra moves. Okay, somewhat like that. And as already mentioned, they are ectoparasitic. They are blood sucking. Blood sucking nature is known as sanguivorous. Okay, SANGUI, sanguivorous or blood sucking habit. So they feed on blood of fishes, frogs, cattle, and even men. Who happen to enter the waters they inhabit, the Hirudinaria inhabit. The Hirudinaria has a soft vermiform, elongated, dorsoventrally flattened body, and the body is broadest near the posterior end and narrowest at the anterior end, and it is capable of causing great alterations in form and proportion, like being ribbon shaped, very narrow, flattened when extended, and almost cylindrical when contracted. The body is brightly colored with characteristic markings, and the dorsal surface, it is colored, ventral surface is lighter color, and you can see the body, it is divided, metamerically divided into 33 segments, and except for the first 2 and the last 7, the rest of the body segments, it is further subdivided into annuli, externally, okay, by closely set groups. And a typical segment may possess 5 annuli. We are speaking about the segments between the 3rd and the 21st, maybe, the rest of the segments. Okay. Now, as we have already mentioned, we have the suckers, the anterior sucker, it is otherwise known as the cephalic sucker, and it comprises, so this is the anterior sucker, and it comprises the prostomium and 3 body somites or segments. Okay, the anterior sucker, it is formed of 3 body segments and the prostomium, and it is oval in outline with a ventrally directed pre-oral chamber, and at the bottom of which lies the mouth opening. Right. The posterior end is, also bears a circular, highly muscular posterior sucker or anal sucker. They are all directed downwards, and it is formed by the fusion of the last 7 body segments. Right. And both the suckers are meant for adhesion as well as locomotion. The anterior sucker, it also helps in feeding. Okay, so these are the important features of Hirudinaria. The next one we have is the Haemadipsa. The Haemadipsa, it is we can say the terrestrial leeches which are found in tropics usually found attached to leaves, bushes, shrubs,